Dhul-Qarnayn radiyallahu anhu wa ardah. May Allah accept from him and grant him what pleases him. مما ذكر في القرآن الكريم قصة سيدنا ذي القرنين رضي الله عنه وأرضاه. Amongst what is mentioned in the Quran, the noble Quran, is the story of Master Dhul-Qarnayn. May Allah accept from him and grant him what pleases him. الذي كان من أولياء الله الصالحين الكبار. That one who was amongst the elite pious saints of God. And so you know the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, you know how big of a wali he was. So then think about Abu Bakr, because Abu Bakr is even bigger wali than this. Even if you didn't hear that Abu Bakr did what Dhul-Qarnayn did, he's still greater than Dhul-Qarnayn. فَمَا اسْمُهُ وَمَاذَا فَعَلْ. So what's his name and what did he do? اسمه صعب ibn al-Harith. His name is As-Sa'b ibn al-Harith, the son of al-Harith. وَقِيلَ صَعْبُ ibn ذِي الْمَرَائِدِ. And it was said that his name is As-Sa'b, the son of Dhu Mara'id. وَهُوَ أَشْهَرُ التَّبَابِعَةِ. And he is the most famous of the Tababi'ah. الَّذِينَ هُمْ مُلُوكُ الْيَمَنِ. Those who were the kings of Yemen. وَذَكَرَهُ أَحَدُ أَحْفَادِهِ فِي شِعْرٍ قَدِيمٍ. One of his grandchildren mentioned him in some ancient poetry. قد كان ذو القرنين جدي مسلما ملكا على في الأرض غير مبعد بلغ المشارق والمغارب يبتغي أسباب ملك من كريم سيدي. It means Dhul-Qarnayn was my grandfather, a Muslim, a king, conqueror. He conquered the world. غير مبعد. I said mubadi. That's the way I took it. The way I read it, it was the way I took it. So looks like that's updated there. But if I was strong in arud, which is knowing the Arabic meters, then that'll be easy for me to tell which way it should go. Easier. Amongst what you can take from these two lines here is that this poet, he says Dhul-Qarnayn is his grandfather and was a Muslim, and he was a world conqueror. He reached the east and the west. ويروى أن سيدنا الخضر كان وزيره. And it was narrated that Master al-Khadir was his advisor. وعلى مقدمة جيشه. And on the front lines of his army. وقد حج ذو القرنين ماشيا من اليمن إلى مكة المكرمة. And Dhul-Qarnayn made Hajj, walking from Al-Yaman to noble Mecca. وَالْتَقَى بِسَيِّدِنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْمَاعِيلَ عَلَيْهِمَا السَّلَامُ. And there he met Master Abraham and Ishmael, may peace be upon both of them. وَطَافَ مَعَهُمَا حَوْلَ الْكَعْبَةِ الْمُشَرَّفَةِ. And he circled the Kaaba, the noble Kaaba, with them. وَذَبَحَ الذَّبَائِحَ لِلَّهِ تَعَالَى. And he slaughtered sacrifices for the sake of God. Exalted is he. Yani they performed Hajj. وَلَمَّا سَمِعَ سَيِّدُنَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ بِقُدُومِهِ. And when Master Abraham heard of his arrival, إِسْتَقْبَلَهُ. He went to meet him. وَدَعَى لَهُ. And he prayed for him. وَأَوْصَاهُ بِوَصَايَا. And he advised him. وَجِيءَ لَهُ بِفَرَسٍ لِيَرْكَبَهَا. And then a horse was brought for him to ride. فَقَالَ تَأَدُّبًا, and so he said, out of etiquette, لا أركب في بلد فيه الخليل إبراهيم عليه السلام. I shall not ride in a town that has Al-Khalil, the most devoted slave, Abraham, may peace be upon him. فَسَخَّرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى لَهُ السَّحَابِ. So then Allah rewarded him for this by subjugating the clouds for him, giving him control over clouds, or enabling him to use clouds. فَبَشَّرَهُ سَيِّدُنَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ بِذَلِكَ. And so our master Abraham gave him glad tidings of that, or congratulated him for that. فَكَانَتْ تَحْمِلُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ. And so the clouds would take him when he wanted. وَكَانَ مِنْ أَمْرِهِ أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَدَّ لَهُ فِي عُمُرِهِ. And amongst his particular case is that Allah extended his life. وَنَصَرَهُ, and supported him. حَتَّى قَهَرَ الْبِلَادِ وَفَتَحَ الْمَدَائِنِ, until he conquered the world. قَهَرَ الْبِلَادِ, he conquered the towns. وَفَتَحَ الْمَدَائِنِ, and he conquered the cities. Yani, he conquered everyone. وَسَارَ حَتَّى أَتَى الْمَشْرِقَ وَالْمَغْرِبِ, and he walked until he reached the east and the west. فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ دِينَ الْإِسْلَامِ سَلِمٍ. And so anyone who followed the religion of Islam was safe. وَإِلَّا فَقَدْ أَخْزَاهُ, and if not, then he would put him to shame. وَمِمَّا أَكْرَمَهُ اللَّهُ بِهِ مِنَ الْكَرَامَاتِ الْبَاهِرَةِ. And amongst the outstanding supernatural sainthood privileges that Allah generously gave him is أَنْ عَلَّمَهُ مَعَالِمَ الْأَرْضِ وَآثَارَهَا, that Allah taught him the landmarks of the earth and the ruins. وَكَانَ لَدَيْهِ فَهْمٌ لِلُّغَاتِ الْمُخْتَلِفَةِ, and he possessed comprehension of the various languages, all languages. فَكَانَ لَا يَغْزُو قَوْمًا إِلَّا حَدَّثَهُمْ بِلُغَتِهِمْ, and he would not invade any people without speaking to them in their own language. وَمِنَ النِّعَمِ الَّتِي أُعْطِيَتْ لَهُ أَنْ سَخَّرَ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا وَظُلْمَةً. And amongst the endowments that were given to him is that Allah enabled him to wield light and darkness. فَكَانَ إِذَا مَشَى فِي اللَّيْلِ يُنَوَّرُ طَرِيقُهُ. And so when he would walk in the night, his path would be lit. وَيَكُونُ الظَّلَامُ خَلْفَهُ, and the darkness would be behind him. وَأَحْيَانًا تُسَلَّطُ الظُّلْمَةُ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ عَلَى أَقْوَامٍ رَفَضُوا دِينَ الْإِسْلَامِ. And sometimes the darkness would be unleashed by God's permission upon people who would refuse the religion of Islam. وَحَاوَلُوا مُحَارَبَةَ Dhul-Qarnayn, and they would attempt to wage war on Dhul-Qarnayn. فَتَدْخُلُ ظُلْمَةُ أَفْوَاهُمْ فَتَدْخُلُ الظُّلْمَةُ أَفْوَاهُمْ وَبُيُوتَهُمْ. So then the darkness would enter their mouths, and it would enter their houses. وَتَغْشَاهُمْ مِنْ جَمِيعِ الْجِهَاتِ, and it would cover them from all directions. حَتَّى يَتَرَاجَعُوا, until they submit. وَهَذَا مَا حَصَلَ مَعَهُ حِينَ سَارَ ذَاتَ يَوْمٍ إِلَى مَوْضِعٍ فِي الْمَغْرِبِ. And that's what happened to him once. Yani, and that's what happened to him that's what happened to him once when he went to a place in the west. حيث تغرب الشمس, where the sun sets. فرأى هناك قوما كافرين, there he saw a disbelieving people, a blasphemer people. قد ظلموا وأجرموا وأكثروا الفساد وسفكوا الدماء. They were unjust, and they were criminals, and they were corrupt, and they spilled blood. وخيرهم بين أن يعذبوا بعذاب شديد ويوضعوا في ثيران نحاسية محماة وبعد موتهم يكون لهم عذاب أكبر يوم القيامة. So he gave them the choice. Yani, after he defeated them, he gave them the choice to either be tortured severely and put into an oven, brass or copper oven. So he gave them the choice to either be tortured severely and put into a hot oven, and then after they die, they would have even greater torture on resurrection day. وَبَيْنَ أَن يُؤْمِنُوا وَيَعْمَلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, or to believe and do good deeds. فَيَكُونَ لَهُمُ النَّعِيمُ الْكَبِيرُ فِي الْجَنَّةِ, and then they would have great reward in the garden. وَأَقَامَ فِيهِمْ مُدَّةً, and he stayed amongst those people for some time. يَنْشُرُ الْهُدَى وَالْخَيْرِ, spreading guidance and goodness amongst them. Subhanallah. Just, you know what? I wonder, I have not heard though, just I wonder if those are, what do you think? Well, I wonder if you have an idea like I have an idea. I wonder if those are Aztecs. They're supposed to be the advanced civilization in the western part of the world back a long time ago before the Europeans came. ثم بدا له أن يذهب من مغرب الشمس إلى مشرقها ومطلعها. Then it occurred to him to go from the sunset to the sunrise. حتى وصل إلى أرض ليس فيها عمران ولا جبال ولا أشجار, until he reached a land that does not have any construction or mountains or trees. وَهُنَاكَ وَجَدَ قَوْمًا أَمْرُهُمْ عَجِيبٌ, and there he found some people, their situation was peculiar. وَهُوَ أَنَّهُمْ إِذَا طَلَعَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الشَّمْسُ دَخَلُوا فِي أَنْفَاقٍ حَفَرُوهَا فِي الْأَرْضِ, which is that when the sun would rise upon them, they would enter into trenches that they dug in the earth. Yani, tunnels. هَرَبًا مِنْ حَرِّ الشَّمْسِ الْقَوِيِّ اللَّاهِبِ, fleeing from the strong flaming heat of the sun. أَوْ غَاصُوا فِي الْمَاءِ, or they would dive into the water. فَإِذَا غَابَتِ الشَّمْسُ خَرَجُوا وَاصْطَادُوا السَّمَكَ, and then when the sun would set, they would come out and go fishing. Now these people, I'm wondering if they even had any clothing, because I don't know where they're going to get it from. وَمَرَّةً جَاءَهُمْ جَيْشٌ فِي اللَّيْلِ, once an army came to them at night. فَقَالُوا لِعَسَاكِرِهِ, so they said to its soldiers, لا تبقوا هنا, do not stay here, لئلا تطلع الشمس عليكم, or else the sun shall rise upon you. So that the sun does not rise upon you. فقال العساكر, and so the army said, لن نترك حتى تطلع الشمس, we shall not withdraw until the sun rises. ثم التفتوا, and then they turned. فوجدوا عظاما كثيرة, and they found many bones. Yani, they're in a wasteland. فسألوا القوم, so they asked the people عنها, about them. فقالوا, so the people said, هذه عظام جيش وجثثه طلعت عليهم الشمس منذ وقت ها هنا فماتوا. They said, these are the bones and corpses of an army that stayed here when the sun rised, and so they died. فولى الجيش هاربا, so that army turned and ran. انطلق سيدنا ذو القرنين غازيا مجاهدا, and Master Dhul-Qarnayn kept on going, invading as an invading mujahid. Mansuran muzaffara, supported and always victorious. حتى وصل إلى بلاد ما بين الجبلين, until he reached the land between the two mountains. وهما جبلان متقابلان عاليان أملسان. They were two twin, smooth, high mountains. فَيَسْكُنُ بَيْنَهُمَا قَوْمٌ, there was a people living there. لَا تَكَادُ تَعْرِفُ لُغَتَهُمْ, you would hardly be able to understand their language. قَدْ جَاوَرُوا قَوْمًا خُبَثَاء, and these people were the neighbors of a wretched folk. قوم يأجوج ومأجوج, the people of Gog and Magog. وهم قوم في الأرض مفسدون, and they are some people in the earth who cause ruin. ضالون مضلون, they are misguided and they mislead others. ولما رأى أهل ما بين الجبلين أن ذا القرنين ملك قوي. And by the way, here you wouldn't be able hardly to understand their language. And storytellers, they call this, what do they call that? They call that a payoff. And these stories of the prophets all together, linked together, they have lots of setups and payoffs. So something would be mentioned. And then why it's mentioned, there's a payoff for it. That means it's going to become relevant later. So he encountered these people, their language so baffling. And that's what's mentioned in the Quran. لا يكادون يفقهون قولا. They could hardly understand anything. And according to a recitation, actually I need to review that. But means their language is so strange. So then becomes relevant to mention in the story that Dhul-Qarnayn could understand any language. قَدْ جَاوَرُوا قَوْمًا, يعني, so that's good storytelling. So there's, it's like storytelling has an art. So for the people who like stories and they basically analyze stories, they look for those types of things. So these stories are very, 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 very supreme stories as far as being stories are concerned. وَلَمَّا رَأَى أَهْلُ مَا بَيْنَ الْجَبَلَيْنِ أَنَّ ذَا الْقَرْنَيْنِ مَلِكٌ قَوِيٌّ. And when the people between the two mountains saw that Dhul-Qarnayn was a powerful king, شَدِيدُ الْمِرَاسِ وَاسِعُ السُّلْطَانِ كَثِيرُ الْأَعْوَانِ, having many subjects, having lots of control and having a command, and people who will carry out his commands. التجأوا إليه طالبين, التجأوا إليه, then they resorted to him. طالبين أن يقيم سدا بينهم وبين جيرانهم, seeking from him to erect a barrier between them and their neighbors. يَفْصِلُ بِلَادَهُمْ, a barrier to divide their lands. وَيَمْنَعُ عَنْهُمْ عُدْوَانَهُم, and to protect those people from the aggression of the Gog and Magog folks. عَلَى أَن يُعْطُوهُ أَجْرَهُ, and they offered to pay him. وَقَالَ Dhul-Qarnayn بِعِفَّةٍ وَصَلَاحٍ, but Dhul-Qarnayn said with dignity and piety, ما مكنني فيه ربي وأعطاني من الملك خير لي من الذي تجمعونه. What my Lord has given me, what my Lord has enabled me to do and has given me of dominion is better for me than whatever you amass. ولكن ساعدوني بقوة عملكم, rather assist me with the strength of your own work. وبآلات البناء لعمل السد, and with building tools for erecting the barricade. فجاءوه بقطع الحديد الضخمة, and so they came to him according to his directions. He gave them directions, told them what to do, and then they obeyed him. So now all of this means they did what he told them to do. So they came to him with chunks, huge chunks of iron, according to his, according to what he requested. فكانت كل قطعة تزن قنطارا أو أكثر, and each chunk would be as heavy as a qintar or more. So all that I know for qintar is that a qintar is a heap. So as a weight, I'm not sure what that means, something very specific. ووضعها بين الجبلين الواحدة فوق الأخرى من الأساس. And then he put those chunks between the two mountains, one over the other, from the foundation. حتى إذا وصل قمة الجبلين, until reaching the peak of the two mountains. أحاط القطع الحديدية بالفحم والخشب. Then he enclosed the iron chunks in coal and wood. وأضرم النار فيها, and then he ignited it. وأمر بالنفخ عليها بالمنافخ حتى تحمى, and then he commanded for the bellows to be used, so to intensify the heat. And so all this sounds like what? Sounds like he has machinery. When I was working on the tafsir of Surah Al-Kahf, I said to myself, as if he has machinery, as if he has technology. So then I started looking in other translations. So they say, a lot of the translations, they say he had machinery, his machinery. They squeeze it in there. Allah knows. But it looks like it though. How are you going to do that? It was bellows, that's machine right there. It's going to have moving parts. So anyway, Allah knows best about the reality of that. ثم جاء بالنحاس المذاب, and then he brought the molten lead. مع الرصاص النحاس, the molten copper. مع الرصاص, with lead. فأفرغهما على تلك القطع الحديدية, And then he doused it over the iron chunks. فالتأمت واشتدت والتصقت ببعضها. And so then all of those iron chunks fused together. حتى صارت سدا سامخا أملس. Until it became a huge, smooth barrier. سميكا جدا, very thick. يصل ارتفاعه إلى 250 ذراعا. Its height reaching 250 cubits. يصعب الصعود عليه. Too difficult to scale. إذ لا نتوء. It doesn't have any protrusions to step upon or to grab hold of. ولا ثقوب فيه. And it doesn't have any holes to be foothold or handhold. ويصعب بالتالي ثقبه. And therefore, it's just difficult to pierce in the first place. وَلَمَّا بَنَى ذُو-الْقَرْنَيْنِ سَدَّ بِعَوْنِ اللَّهِ وَتَوْفِيقِهِ قَالَ. And then when Dhul-Qarnayn built this barrier by God's help and the compliance granted to him from Allah, he said, هَذَا رَحْمَةٌ مِّن رَبِّي. This is a mercy from my Lord. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكًّا. And when the promise of my Lord comes, he will make this barrier crumble. وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. And the promise of my Lord is true. That's Surah Al-Kahf. وَحَجَزَ قَوْمَ يَأْجُوجَ وَمَأْجُوجَ خَلْفَهُ. He thereby detained the Gog and Magog folks behind this barrier. وَقَدْ أَخْبَرَ عَنْهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ أَنَّهُ لَا يَمُوتُ أَحَدُهُمْ حَتَّى يَلِدَ أَلْفًا مِنْ صُلْبِهِ أَوْ أَكْثَرَ. And the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told about them that one of them will not die until he gives birth to 1,000 or more from his own loins. So that's a testament to their population, not just to their population only, but also to their long lives. It means there's many of them and they live for a long time. وَسَيَصِيرُ عَدَدُهُمْ قَبْلَ خُرُوجِهِمْ كَبِيرًا جِدًّا. And their population shall, before they come out, become very big. حَتَّى إِنَّ الْبَشَرَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ بِالنِّسْبَةِ لَهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ الْعَدَدُ كَوَاحِدٍ مِنْ مِئَةٍ. Until on Judgment Day, all of humanity, all the other humans, in comparison to them, are like 1 to 100. For every one normal person, there's 100 of Gog and Magog. Subhanallah, I think about Yawm al-Qiyamah, and in my mind, it just means these guys are going to be everywhere. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Yawm al-Qiyamah is already crowded. So, unless they're going to be isolated, means they're going to be like so many of them. وَلَمْ يَثْبُتْ مَا يُرْوَى أَنَّ آذَانَهُمْ طَوِيلَةٌ. And it's not confirmed what was narrated that their ears are long. يَنَامُونَ عَلَى وَاحِدَةٍ وَيَتَغَطُّونَ بِالْأُخْرَى. Sleeping upon one of them and covering up with the other. وَأَنَّهُمْ قِصَارُ الْقَامَةِ. And that they are short. So that amounts to saying that they are dwarves or gremlins. It's not their case. Dwarves, really, is what these people who believe like this about Gog and Magog, they believe they're dwarves. وَهُمْ يُحَاوِلُونَ أَنْ يَخْتَرِقُوا هَذَا السَّدَّ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ. And they attempt to breach this barrier daily. فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. But they are unable. وَيَقُولُونَ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ بَعْدَ طُولِ عَمَلٍ وَجُهْدٍ. And they say after every day, after lengthy work and effort, غَدًا نُكْمِلْ, tomorrow we will continue. فَيَعُودُونَ فِي الْيَوْمِ الْقَابِلِ, and then they come back the next day. فَيَجِدُونَ مَا فَتَحُوهُ قَدْ سُدَّ, and they find whatever they opened up is sealed again. Yani means Allah makes the pieces come back. And then they start all over. وَيَبْقَوْنَ هَكَذَا يَعْمَلُونَ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ إِلَىٰ أَنْ يَقُولُوا, and this is what they do every day until they say, غَدًا نُكْمِلُ إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ, tomorrow we will continue, God willing. فَيَعُودُونَ فِي الْيَوْمِ الْقَابِلِ, and then they come back the next day. فَيَجِدُونَ مَا بَدَأُوا بِهِ قَدْ بَقِيَ عَلَى حَالِهِ, and they find what they started remained as it was. فَيُكْمِلُونَ الْحَفْرِ, so they continue to dig. حَتَّى يَتَمَكَّنُوا مِنَ الْخُرُوجِ, until they are able to escape. وَيَكُونُ خُرُوجُهُمْ عَلَامَةً مِنْ عَلَامَاتِ الْقِيَامَةِ مِنْ عَلَامَاتِ الْقِيَامَةِ الْكُبْرَى, and they're coming out, when they come out, it will be a sign, a major sign of Judgment Day. حَفِظَنَا اللَّهُ وَإِيَّاكُمْ مِنْ أَهْوَالِهَا. May Allah protect us and you from the horrors of Judgment Day. Ameen. And that's going to be when Jesus is on earth, alayhi salatu wassalam, and after he slays the impostor. وَعَاشَ Dhul-Qarnayn مِئَاتِ السِّنِينَ, and Dhul-Qarnayn, he lived for hundreds of years. حَتَّى تَوَفَّاهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى, until Allah made him die. وَقَدْ تَزَوَّدَ لِآخِرَتِهِ بِزَادِ التَّقْوَى وَالْعَمَلِ, and he collected for his afterlife good deeds. Yani, the zad is what a traveler takes so that he can reach his destination. So if you're a traveler, you're going to, for example, get a backpack, get some water, and some cloths of some sort, etc., some money, some medicine maybe, whatever you need for your trip, for your trek. That's your zad. So the pious people, their zad is the good deeds. The people whose concern is the afterlife, yani, they see that they are on a journey going towards the afterlife. And they see that they should not be taking a journey without zad. So their zad is their good deeds. So otherwise, it's not really easy to translate this. وَالصَّعْبُ ذُو الْقَرْنَيْنِ أَمْسَى مُلْكُهُ 2000 عَامًا ثُمَّ صَارَ رَمِيمًا. And As-Sa'b Dhul-Qarnayn, أَمْسَى مُلْكُهُ, his dominion lasted for, or was. Amsa has meaning of Sara. Sara mulkuhu 2000 ama. His dominion, his reign was 2000 years. Thumma sara ramima, and then he became dust. Meaning Allah made his body decay. Then, if Allah made his body decay, means what? Means he is not a prophet. Even a wali, Allah can make the wali's body decay. It's not a condition that because he's wali, his body won't decay. Subhanallah. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Any question? MashaAllah. That's my favorite story, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. Whenever I tell the story of Dhul-Qarnayn, I feel like I'm on such an adventure. It's like, MashaAllah, traveling through all the world. MashaAllah. You said the people that had strange language, does it carry on? You don't even know who those people were. I don't know that it's known who those people were. There's some talk in the tafsirs about not exactly who they were, but for example, some of the tafsirs said they were black people. So, Zinj. And so it doesn't mean we know who they were then. You said it felt like something was coming up in the story. What you mean? In terms of knowing who they were, all this is after he reached the sunrise. So, Yani, where are you going to go after that? In my mind, it means you're going to go north or south. So I don't even know where he went when he got to the sunrise. After he got to the sunrise, where did he go from there? Which way did he go? Where are these two mountains? So, Yani, if we knew who those people were and what their language was, maybe we would know some other things too. Inshallah. طيب بارك الله فيكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.